Before we begin, do one thing. Lock your doors, turn down the lights, and subscribe if you're brave enough to follow this case to the very end. Because tonight's story isn't just about a disappearance. It's about a warning that came true. The last photo of Emily Hart was taken at 12:43 a.m. She's standing under the warm glow of patio lights outside a downtown bar, smiling, but not fully. Her shoulders are slightly tense. Her eyes are scanning something just beyond the camera's frame. To anyone else, it looked like a college senior enjoying a Friday night in early summer. To detectives, it would later look like a moment frozen seconds before everything changed. Emily was 21. Smart, careful, the kind of daughter who texted when she got home. That night, she'd been out with friends celebrating the end of exams in a busy university town just outside Chicago. The streets were alive with music, ride-shares, laughter echoing off brick buildings. Nothing about the night suggested danger. But earlier that evening, she'd leaned close to her best friend, Olivia, and whispered something strange. "I feel like someone's watching me." Olivia laughed it off at first. Crowded bars, loud strangers, unfamiliar faces, it was easy to feel that way. But Emily didn't laugh. She turned again, scanning the room, eyes locking briefly with someone near the exit. A man in a gray hoodie. Average height. Baseball cap pulled low. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just looking. By 1:12 a.m., Emily and her friends left the bar. Security cameras later showed them walking down Grant Street, heels clicking against pavement. At 1:19 a.m., she stumbled slightly, nothing dramatic, just unsteady enough that one of the guys in their group offered his arm. She waved him off, insisting she was fine. At 1:24 a.m., the group split up at the corner. Emily decided to walk the remaining 2 blocks to her apartment alone. That decision would become the center of every headline for the next decade. At 1:27 a.m., a residential surveillance camera captured her crossing Maple Avenue. The footage is grainy, washed in sodium streetlight glare. She pauses mid-step and looks behind her. No one is visible in frame. At 1:28 a.m., her phone sends a final text to Olivia. "Did you see that guy again?" Olivia didn't respond. She was already inside her building, music still ringing in her ears. At 1:31 a.m., Emily's phone signal pinged one last time near her apartment complex. Then it went dark. No calls. No outgoing messages. No social media activity. Nothing. By 9 a.m., when Emily missed a morning study session, something she had never done before, concern began to spread. By noon, her parents were calling local hospitals. By evening, police were officially involved. Detective Marcus Reed arrived at the scene just before sunset. He'd handled dozens of missing persons cases, most resolved within 48 hours. People ran away. People sobered up. People came home. But something about this felt different. There were no signs of forced entry at Emily's apartment. Her bed was untouched. Her purse and keys were missing, but her wallet had been found inside the purse days later in a dumpster 3 blocks away. Cash still inside. Robbery wasn't the motive. Investigators retraced her path step by step. They interviewed bartenders, rideshare drivers, random pedestrians. Everyone described the same thing, a normal night. Except for one detail. 2 separate witnesses mentioned a man in a gray hoodie lingering outside the bar. One said he seemed to be watching the group. Another claimed he left seconds after Emily did. Police pulled traffic cameras from surrounding intersections. Hours of footage blurred past in silence. And then they saw him. At 1:26 a.m., just seconds after Emily turned onto Maple Avenue, a figure in a gray hoodie appears at the far edge of the frame. He pauses under a streetlight as if waiting. His face is partially obscured by shadow. He doesn't follow immediately. He waits. Then, exactly 12 seconds later, he walks in the same direction Emily had gone. The footage cuts before the next corner. Detective Reed leaned back in his chair, replaying the clip again and again. The timing was too precise to be coincidence. But here's what made his stomach tighten. When officers canvassed the area the following day, one homeowner handed over private security footage from a side alley near Emily's apartment. The timestamp read 1:33 a.m. The video showed Emily at the mouth of the alley. She wasn't alone. She was standing face to face with someone just outside the camera's clear range. And instead of running, she stepped closer. The still frame from the alley camera became the image that haunted the investigation. Emily stood at the edge of the screen, illuminated by a faint spill of porch light from across the street. Her posture wasn't defensive. She wasn't backing away. She wasn't turning to flee. She looked engaged, focused on the person just beyond the camera's full view. The figure she faced wore a gray hoodie. Detective Marcus Reed watched the clip on loop inside the dim glow of the department's digital forensics lab. Every pixel was magnified, enhanced, slowed down. Emily's hand lifted slightly, as if gesturing mid-sentence. The hooded figure shifted weight from one foot to the other. Then the video glitched. Just 3 seconds of static distortion. When the image returned, the alley was empty. No Emily. No hoodie. Nothing but a stray newspaper sliding across concrete in the wind. Camera malfunction? Reed asked. The forensic tech shook her head. Unlikely. The system shows a manual interruption. Someone accessed it remotely at 1:33 a.m. and deleted approximately 40 seconds of footage. Reed's jaw tightened. This wasn't random. Someone had planned this. The alley camera belonged to a small law office adjacent to the apartment building. The firm's owner swore no one had authorization to access the system remotely except him and his IT contractor. The contractor's name was Daniel Mercer, 34 years old. Freelance cybersecurity specialist. No criminal record. No traffic violations. No outstanding debts. The kind of digital ghost who knew how to leave no fingerprints. When detectives brought Mercer in for questioning, he was calm. Too calm. He admitted he maintained security systems for several buildings downtown, including the law office. He claimed he had been home all night, working on a server migration project for a client in Seattle. He even provided timestamps and login records. But Reed had seen enough interviews to recognize rehearsed neutrality. Mercer's answers were precise, almost clinical. He maintained eye contact without blinking too much, hands resting flat on the table. Did you visit Grant Street that night? Reed asked. No. Do you own a gray hoodie? A slight pause. I own several. Mercer allowed officers to search his apartment voluntarily. It was spotless. Minimal furniture. No obvious signs of violence. No trophies. No personal connection to Emily. Except for one thing. On his desk sat a high-powered external hard drive connected to his computer. Forensics seized it under warrant. Within hours, they discovered something unsettling. Dozens of video files. Not random city footage, curated clips. Different women walking alone at night. Street corners. Apartment entrances. Parking garages. Each file labeled with time, date, and GPS coordinates. Emily had a folder. It contained surveillance angles from earlier that evening outside the bar. Shots not from public traffic cameras, but from private feeds. Feeds Mercer had access to. But there was no footage from the alley beyond the glitched 3 seconds. That portion had been permanently overwritten. When confronted with the folder, Mercer didn't panic. I monitor urban safety trends, he said evenly. I document vulnerable pedestrian patterns. It's research. For who? Reed pressed. Mercer hesitated for the first time. Myself. The search of his apartment yielded no physical evidence linking him to Emily's disappearance. No blood. No fibers. No belongings. Her phone remained missing. Her body had not been found. Yet phone tower data placed Mercer's cell within a 2-block radius of Maple Avenue at 1:30 a.m. He claimed coincidence. Reed didn't believe in coincidence. As the investigation deepened, pressure mounted from the media. Emily's face was everywhere. Morning shows, podcasts, true crime blogs dissecting every second of her final walk. Public sympathy turned into outrage. How could someone vanish in a well-lit college town filled with cameras? Then came the twist no one expected. 2 days after Mercer's interrogation, his apartment was found empty. Not ransacked. Not hurried. His landlord reported that Mercer had terminated his lease via email that morning, claiming a family emergency. He left no forwarding address. Detectives rushed to track his financial activity. His bank accounts had been drained gradually over the previous 3 weeks, small withdrawals that hadn't triggered alarms. His phone was powered off. He had been preparing. But here's what truly shook Detective Reed. Inside Mercer's abandoned apartment closet, hidden beneath a removable floor panel, officers discovered a storage drive wrapped carefully in plastic. It wasn't connected to his system logs. It wasn't listed in any of his device registries. And when forensic analysts accessed it, they found a single video file. Timestamped 1:34 a.m. The alley. Clear resolution. No glitches. The video begins with Emily standing face to face with Mercer. She doesn't look frightened. She looks like she recognizes him. And then, before the clip cuts to black, she says something that investigators would replay 1,000 times. "You said you'd stop following me." The screen goes dark. But what happens next was never recorded. The sentence echoed through the investigation like a gunshot that no one could locate. "You said you'd stop following me." Detective Marcus Reed replayed the recovered footage again and again. Emily's voice was steady, not panicked. That was what unsettled him most. She wasn't reacting to a stranger in that alley. She was confronting someone she already knew. Daniel Mercer wasn't just a random predator scanning city cameras. He had history with her. The problem was, no one could find it. Police tore through Emily's digital life. Messages, emails, social media requests, dating apps, archived photos. They interviewed classmates, professors, ex-boyfriends, neighbors. No one recognized Mercer's name. No one remembered seeing him around campus. But then Olivia, Emily's best friend, remembered something small. 3 weeks before the disappearance, Emily had complained about a creepy tech guy who kept showing up near her apartment building. She thought he worked on the security systems nearby. She said he had offered to walk her home sometime because the streets weren't safe. Emily declined. Olivia admitted she hadn't taken it seriously. The town was full of contractors and delivery workers. It hadn't seemed threatening at the time. Detectives traced Mercer's service records. He had installed upgraded camera systems in 3 buildings within a 5-block radius of Emily's apartment. The timeline matched perfectly. His first service call in the area? Exactly 1 month before she vanished. Reed felt the pattern locking into place. Observation. Routine. Mercer had been watching long before that night. But watching wasn't enough to convict him. A nationwide alert went out. Airports flagged his name. Bus stations were notified. His photo circulated across law enforcement databases in the United States and Europe. Days passed. Then weeks. No confirmed sightings. Then, just when the trail felt ice cold, a gas station clerk in rural Colorado reported something unusual. A man matching Mercer's description had paid cash for fuel at 3:17 a.m., avoiding cameras by parking outside their main coverage angle. The clerk only remembered him because he asked a strange question. "Do your cameras record audio?" The clerk had laughed and said no. Detectives obtained the station's footage. The man's face was partially visible as he turned toward the counter light. The scar along his jawline matched. A vehicle plate was partially captured, enough for analysts to narrow down a rental SUV reported missing 2 days earlier in Illinois. The SUV was eventually found abandoned near a hiking trail in the Rockies. No signs of struggle. No blood. Just an empty vehicle baking under high-altitude sun. Inside the trunk, investigators discovered a burner phone. The device contained a single unsent draft message. No recipient. No timestamp. Just 7 words. She wasn't supposed to make it complicated. Reed read the message in silence. Complicated. As if Emily's fear had disrupted a plan. As if confrontation had forced improvisation. Search teams combed the surrounding wilderness for days. Helicopters scanned ravines. Volunteers formed grids across miles of terrain. Nothing. No clothing. No remains. No trace. Daniel Mercer had vanished into the landscape the same way Emily had vanished into the city. Months turned into years. The case never closed, but it stopped making headlines. New tragedies filled the news cycle. New mysteries demanded attention. Emily's family refused to give up, funding private investigators, maintaining online campaigns, keeping her face visible in a world that moves on too quickly. Detective Reed retired 5 years later. On his last day, he sat alone in his office and reopened the alley video one final time. He watched Emily step forward. He watched her confront the man who had watched her for weeks. There was something in her tone, not just fear. Frustration. Like this wasn't the first time she had told him to stop. Reed slowed the footage to its lowest possible speed. Frame by frame, he examined Mercer's posture. His hands were visible for less than a second before the cut. In that split second, Mercer wasn't reaching for her. He was holding something out. A phone. Reed froze the frame. The object was rectangular, slim, unmistakable. Mercer had been showing her something. Not grabbing her. Not attacking her. Showing her. The realization sent a cold ripple through him. What if the confrontation wasn't the beginning of violence? What if it was the beginning of a negotiation? Years later, an anonymous envelope arrived at the department's evidence desk. No return address. Inside was a flash drive containing a short video clip. The file opened to reveal a familiar face. Emily. Alive. The footage appeared recent. She sat in a dimly lit room, older but unmistakably her. No visible injuries. No restraints. She looked directly into the camera. If you're seeing this, she said calmly, it means he kept his promise. The video ended there. No location metadata. No date stamp. No way to verify when it was recorded. Digital forensics confirmed the file hadn't been manipulated, but they couldn't confirm when or where it was filmed. Daniel Mercer was never found. Emily Hart was never officially declared deceased. Some believe she was coerced. Others believe she left willingly under circumstances too complex to untangle. A few insist she's still out there, living under another name, hiding from the same shadow that once followed her home. The alley still stands. The streetlights still hum at 1:34 a.m. And somewhere, in a room without windows, a camera might still be recording. If you think this case was disturbing, remember this: the most terrifying mysteries aren't the ones with monsters in the dark. They're the ones where someone was watching the whole time, and no one realized how close they really were.